MMA Boxing Talk here, coming at you with another video. This is a review video, or a post-fight video, whatever. I'm a little late, for UFC 196. What a night that was. Man, I've seen some really good cards in the UFC, and this one is right up there, for action, drama, just craziness. You know what I mean? Both the underdogs won. Most people were choosing Holm and McGregor. I'd say about 80% of the people were going McGregor Holm, including myself. I was really confident they'd both get the job done. Despite Misha Tate being resilient and being tough and being a better, on the ground, better submissions, of course. Holly Holm doesn't really have much of a submission game. So, and then, Nate Diaz, I really thought Conor McGregor was going to get it done. Obviously, moving up two divisions in the end was very smart. McGregor, he seemed to have, he didn't want to pick his shots. He wanted to go for the early finish. And he really blew his load, early on. And that's exactly what he said in the press conference after, which he was very humble, by the way, because, this guy, probably the biggest shit talker I've ever seen. He's came out with, he said some things that I don't agree with. I am a fan, but, I wasn't a fan of everything he said. Don't get me wrong there. But he took the loss like a man, and I respect him for that. So he said the right things at the press conference afterwards, and at the end of the day, you got to take it for what it is. I mean, he was moving up two divisions. Nobody moves up two divisions. Like, you don't have a fight, and then your next fight is 25 pounds higher. You know what I mean? That nobody does that. Nobody. Like, if you there's other fighters that have fought in more than two divisions, but they don't jump. They don't skip a division between fights. You know what I mean? So, McGregor, he took a big chance, and it didn't pay off. Hats off to Nate Diaz. What a performance! I mean, that guy is a true warrior. He took some heavy shots. I knew he had a good chin, but I didn't think his chin was that good. And you got to remember too, McGregor has all this power, but he was fighting 145ers. You know what I mean? That's not even his natural division, McGregor. His natural weight class is 155, but at 145, they can't handle his power. They just cannot. So he said it in the press conference. He didn't fully take in consideration that it would take a few more shots to hurt Diaz, and he said it needed cleaner work. You know what I mean? Cleaner shots to hurt him. Where the featherweights, and McGregor said this in the past. I just have to barely touch their face, and it could be over. Where that's not the case when you're fighting a much bigger man, and moving up 25 pounds, and the thing is too is, and this is just reality. When you have all this extra muscle mass, it's not always the most efficient, especially in fighting, and it takes away from your cardio. You know what I mean? Having all that muscle to carry around, and it just uses up more energy. And let's not forget, McGregor was, he was on his diet, ready to cut for 155, and then all of a sudden, 12. He's got like 10 or 12 days to, add what, 10. I think like, oh wait, he went from 155 to 168, so 13 pounds. So he obviously wasn't at 155 yet, but that's what he was on. He was on pace for that. That's how he was dieting, and then all of a sudden you got to throw on 13 pounds of muscle in less than 2 weeks. You're not going to be optimal. And even with the extra muscle, regardless, even if you had the time, you're not going to be optimal. So he wasn't efficient with his energy, that's for sure. You know, his ego got in the way. He wanted that early finish like he predicted, and it was his downfall. You know, Nate Diaz, what a submission, what a fight. I mean, just phenomenal. You know, as much as I wanted McGregor to win, I'm a McGregor fan. I can't be disappointed. I can't hate this. I mean, Nate Diaz. I'm a big fan of Nate Diaz. I mean, I've always liked both of them. I like their work. I like the way they fight. I like their attitude. And you know, hats off to him. I'm glad he got a big payday. He deserves it. You know, him and his brother now can live comfortably for a while anyway. So that's awesome. And you know, they're going to continue to get bigger fights now too. So I'm really really happy for them, especially Nate Diaz. You know, his brother a little more had some more marquee names on his resume, but Diaz nonetheless. Nate Diaz, sorry, he has some good fighters as well. But you know, Nick Diaz has fought Anderson Silva. You know, he's fought GSP. He's fought Carlos Condit, I think. I'm not sure about Condit. Yeah, he fought Condit and he fought BJ Penn. You know, he gets the bigger fights, but that's all going to change real quick. Because now the rumor is Nate Diaz is going to fight for the 170 belt against Robbie Lawler. So, you know, that'll be an interesting fight. And actually, Nick Diaz fought him like about in 2004 and actually beat Robbie Lawler back in 2004 in Strikeforce, I think it was. But anyway, I wanted to put out a video talking about this fight. It was crazy. You know, McGregor, he's going to have to go back to 145. He's going to have to defend that belt. It's either going to be against Aldo or it's going to be against Frankie Edgar. Personally, Aldo can wait a little bit. He just got knocked out cold. You shouldn't come back early anyway from a knockout like that. You should wait a year or roughly a year. But so in that case, I'd like to see Frankie Edgar, Conor McGregor at UFC 200. You know, a lot of people. The consensus is that Frankie Edgar's the guy. You know, to test McGregor the most at 145. I don't think he can beat McGregor. You know, he doesn't have submissions like Nate Diaz. He's not taller. He's not lankier. He's not heavier. It's not going to be two divisions above. So, you know, it'll be a good fight, no doubt. But that's the fight I want to see first. Then, if McGregor can get past Frankie, then fight Aldo, and then you can move up to 155 because really that's his natural weight class, 155. I mean, look at what he looks like when he weighs in at 145. And it'll tell you that he's not a natural 145er. So, you know, crazy weekend. I can't believe it. It's you know, this is really good. I think in a way, even as a McGregor fan, you know, as much as I'll be a fan of a fighter, I want to be, you know, realistic and, you know, not be biased. And you know, I just didn't like that talk that he would, you know, before this fight he was saying, you know, I'm gonna, before he even fought Rafael dos Anjos, he was already talking about, well, I'm gonna fight for the 170, you know, belt against Robbie Lawler next, and you know, you haven't even won the 155-pound belt. Like, slow your roll, and that's exactly what this loss is gonna do for him. You know, he's gonna have to go back to 145. You know, he's you know, 145. He's gonna be, you know, they're not gonna be able to touch him. I mean, although obviously it's gonna be a different fight the second round. The second time around. There's no doubt. But yeah, he's not done. You know, he's getting a lot of, you know, people are shitting on him, and you know what? When you talk that much, it's to be expected. I mean, it's just the way it is. You got to take it, and he's taking it well. I'm glad. So and it was funny. He did put out a statement. You know, I'm gonna eat this all up. I'm gonna take it on the chin. I'm gonna come back stronger. It was like an Instagram thing. And anyway, lower down he goes. He goes, Jose Aldo, you're a pussy. Rafael dos Anjos, you're a pussy. When the record books are written or the history books are written, I'll be. He said, what did he say? I'm forgetting you. He's like, yeah, Jose Aldo, you're a pussy. Rafael dos Anjos, you're a pussy. When the history books are written, I showed up. You showed up on Twitter. And that's amazing. I mean, that line right there says it all because, you know, well, Rafael dos Anjos, in his defense, I mean, he shouldn't have been fighting. I don't know if he broke his foot or whatever, but that thing was fucked. He should not have been fighting McGregor. in that short notice. I mean, his foot was insanely huge. But Aldo, Aldo's fought him and lost to McGregor, of course. But the thing is Aldo said, about a month ago or whatever it was, any place, anytime, I'm ready. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, RDA pulls out. They call Aldo first, and I'm not ready because I just started my light training. Well, you're all talk then because you said you were ready and you're not. But I don't. I mean, I don't blame him because you shouldn't come back too early. But don't run your mouth on Twitter if you're not going to back it up. At least McGregor will back up what he says. So that chirp, it was a nice one. So obviously, this loss isn't going to completely change him, but it'll change his maybe his willingness to go up so quickly. I mean, you don't have to be in a rush to do these things. He seemed to be too much in a rush. Talking about taking the 170 champ before you beat the 155-pound champ, like what the fuck is that? I'm a fan, but you know what I mean. I'm gonna be real with that. That's bullshit. You know what I mean? Even moving up to fight Dos Anjos right away, that shouldn't have happened. You know what I mean? That should not have happened. He should have fought, at least one contender and move up, but and then maybe fight for the title. But the UFC, they were backing him fully. He got to pick. He got to decide. You got to remember, he was the one that said, that said, you know what, Nate Diaz, the fight's at 170. So his ego, his ego got in the way. In the fight as well because his ego. He wanted that early finish. He blew his load. So this is a good learning experience for him. It's better than getting knocked out unconscious. That's obviously the worst. So he'll be back. This is the third time he's been submitted. The last time he got submitted was 2010 when he wasn't really training. Anyway. This will be interesting to see how the rest of his career plays out, and just see who he's going to fight next. Because no matter what, he's always going to be one of he is the most exciting fighter in the MMA in the UFC to watch. I don't know how long that'll last, but he brings it, and he is for real. So I'm a McGregor fan to the end, but I'm gonna be real, and I'm not a fanboy. I like him, but I'm not a fanboy. So that's just what I wanted to put out. Like I said, hats off to Nate Diaz. He deserves that win. That's so huge. I'm very, very happy for him. His life's gonna change quite a bit. I mean, now he's got money. He's even more popular. More fame. He's gonna get bigger fights, bigger paydays. And you know what? A guy like that's put in his time. He's a student of the game. This guy, he doesn't really, all he does is really work out and, train for triathlons, whatever. He's, as much as, he might be a pothead and things like that, he takes it serious and, he's put in his work. And I'm really, really happy for him. And also Misha Tate, she deserves it as well. I mean, she's a champion, a true champion. She has grit, determination. She fought the perfect fight against Holly Holm. It's a real shame, Holly Holm. I was really, really rooting for her. I'm more disappointed about Holly Holm loss, to be quite honest. But she'll be back. There's no doubt in my mind. She will be back. So anyway, if you like the video, subscribe. That's it for this one. MMA Boxing Talk. Peace.